As we approach this fourth Sunday of Lent, the church calls us to rejoice. We call it Laetare Sunday. The first words of the Mass proclaim that we ought to rejoice in the Lord. And we rejoice in a variety of things. One, the anticipation of the celebration of Easter, but most of us who celebrate this season, who enter into Lent, have already been redeemed by the Lord. We've already been baptized. And so we rejoice in what we've already received and what we will renew in our celebration of our covenant relationship with God at Easter. And the readings that we proclaim this weekend point us in that same direction too. Remember, the first readings are connecting us with the Exodus event. And we have this beautiful episode from the end of the journey in the book of Joshua that we hear this weekend, where Joshua has led the people into the promised land. Moses has died recently, and he leads them into the promised land. And we hear that, immediately after the celebration of the Passover, the manna ceases. God doesn't sustain them in that same way in the desert because they eat from the produce of the land. But it's immediately after the Passover, the same celebration that really won for them their freedom, that really convinced Pharaoh to chase them out of Egypt. So they celebrated the first Passover there on the way out of Egypt, and the first of the last Passovers, if you will, when they reached the Promised Land. But God says through Joshua that he has removed the reproach of Egypt from them. What is he saying? The reproach of Egypt. He's saying you're no longer slaves, right? There's something about it. You're free, go live. You're not slaves, you're sons, And there's just something so beautiful about that pronouncement there and then for the people as they start this new life in the fulfillment of the promise to them. But also for us, as we look to the gospel reading, we hear the story of the prodigal son. And, it's a story that has so many facets of meaning for us. And sometimes initially we get caught up in the huge sins of the younger son. Then hopefully on a more mature level, we get caught up in the mercy of the father who rejoices to see him return. And then we also get a little bit, preoccupied with the older son who resists this absurd display of mercy on the father's part. But at the heart of that, we have this same tension that as the Israelites experienced in real life, the tension between slavery and sonship, so it plays out in the hearts of every believer. The tension between accepting the complete and total absurd mercy of the Father who rejoices at your return, who dances in joy as you come up the drive back to the Father's house. And yet there's a part of us that still believes that, you've got to earn that mercy, that there's no time. The older son really was living his life as a slave under the roof of the Father who would bestow such absurd mercy and love upon him, that he chooses the slavery of his heart rather than the sonship of the one who returned, who had known his father's love, at least in such a deep and profound way that he knew that he would have a place somewhere in the household as he returns from his great sin. But that same tension plays out in us as well between slavery and sonship. And the Father overwhelms us with his love and waits for us just to turn to him, because he's dancing for joy as he waits for us to come back to that house. And let the rest of this Lenten season really be, let it be that, just a coming back to the Father and seeing him dance for joy over you, because you've already returned. What are we celebrating, rejoicing over today? That God has already redeemed us and that we have a place prepared in the Father's house.